made it! We're all safe, guys, we made it!
What are you doing? Get the f*** out of my car. I can't even believe you think that would be an option.
Okay, no, that makes sense.
While he might never shake his decades-old reputation as a goofy stoner, the Seth Rogen of today is an entirely different man, and sometimes beast, than the one we came to know in the early 2000s.
I wish I liked anything as much as my kids like bubbles. That's sad. It's totally sad.
He's a serious writer, actor, and producer who also happens to be a goofy stoner. So how did Rogen pull off the impossible and go from a teen actor to a crude comic to a well-respected artist?
Now, most grandparents argue, mine argue too, but my grandparents are deaf. So they don't have any idea what the other person's arguing about.
At 13, Rogen was already performing stand-up comedy and sounding deeply Canadian in the process. Making people laugh was his primary focus, and his natural ability to do so got him a spot on Judd Apatow's cult classic, Freaks and Geeks, in 1999. At just 17, Rogen moved from his home in Vancouver, British Columbia, to Los Angeles. But once the show came to a premature close, Rogen had to fend for himself. For many young actors, this would have been the end of the road. Their burgeoning career would have broken down before it ever got going. Apatow recognized this and even felt partially responsible for Rogen since he was the one who coaxed him away from home in the first place. As Apatow told Collider way back in 2007, Seth didn't go to college because he did Freaks and Geeks, and I had ruined his life that way. I'd ended his education, and then after that, he was having trouble getting work, and he wasn't getting any acting work.
I'm supposed to be writing jokes, I'm supposed to be doing comedy, I'm not supposed to be making macaroni salad.
Rogen wrote and appeared in Apatow's next project, Undeclared, which only managed 18 episodes before its cancellation, and suddenly, he was out of work again. It was during this off period that Rogen and his creative partner and childhood best friend, Evan Goldberg, threw themselves into their personal projects. The pair had been writing together since their high school days in Vancouver, which is actually where the script for Superbad first began to take shape. They wanted to write about themselves and their high school experiences.
I was a lot like the Jonah character in Superbad.
Together, they finished Superbad's script as well as another for a little movie called Pineapple Express. Unfortunately, those scripts didn't go anywhere, at least not right away. Like the rest of Rogen's career, they were shelved for years. Nobody wanted to produce raunchy comedies from a has-been teenage star and his unproven writing partner. Things got so bad that Rogen considered moving back home to Canada and forgetting about his dreams altogether. Thankfully, that's not how this story ends. Rogen's drive and comedic talents earned the goodwill of Judd Apatow, who saw nothing but potential in the young upstart, and he probably still felt a little bad about the whole ruining his life thing.
You're making noises now? You look like the Incredible Hulk. Jesus, you're spitting on my shrimp.
After taking a small role in Richard Kelly's Donnie Darko, Rogen's next two major acting gigs would be a supporting part in The 40-Year-Old Virgin and the lead in Knocked Up, which were both written and directed by Apatow. But Rogen wasn't just an actor in Apatow's newest endeavors. He co-produced both movies, and the premise of Knocked Up was even based on a conversation between the two. According to Apatow, he recognized that Rogen's brand of comedy would be best served in everyday situations, and he told him, "You could just accidentally get a woman pregnant and it would be funny." Obviously, Apatow was right, though it would take some time for Rogen to really settle into that role.
Oh God, what does it look like?
You don't want to see it.
I want to see it.
Beautiful, you don't want to though.
While the success of 40-Year-Old Virgin and Knocked Up launched Rogen into stardom, he wasn't exactly widely marketable. He had carved a very specific niche for himself, one that fit squarely into the realm of raunchy comedies, which luckily for him was exactly the opportunity he needed to dust off those old scripts. His old high school project, Superbad, was the first to get the green light, though Rogen and Goldberg were now too old to star as the characters based heavily on themselves, so Michael Cera and Jonah Hill were cast in their place. Rogen slotted himself into a supporting role instead, and in August of 2007, Superbad made its theatrical debut. The awkward teen comedy was highly relatable for many, and unlike Seth Rogen in high school, it was very popular.
Yeah, I love parties.
Really? I just don't really ever see you at them.
You know, it's a love-hate thing.
Superbad made a killing at the box office, and it paved the way for riskier bets. The first of those bets was Drill Bit Taylor, which was less successful. That stallout could have spelled disaster for Rogen's reputation as a writer, but it passed mostly unnoticed. He already had another movie coming out later that year, and it would prove to be a much more solid credit to his name. The stoner buddy comedy Pineapple Express debuted in the summer of 2008 and changed the trajectory of Rogen's career. This was the first time he got to star in a movie he had co-written, which marked a very important milestone for him going forward. Despite middling reviews early on, Pineapple Express was a financial hit and quickly garnered a cult following. Today, it's widely believed to be the definitive stoner comedy. It was so good that it couldn't be topped, and the entire genre was put to rest.
High five, seriously. I know this sounds weird, but can we be best friends?
From there, Rogen lent his voice to several animated movies and made appearances in some projects that were similar in spirit to his own comedies, but none of them took off like the ones written by him and Goldberg. It seemed like Rogen had cracked the code. His best material came from his own mind. He produced work from a place of authenticity and passion for the subject matter. He put himself in a role that best fit his real-life strengths. So, with that in mind, where did he and his writing partner go from here?
Hola, I am the Green Hornet, and I would like to sit down with your boss.
Look, they can't all be winners. Despite being written by Rogen and Goldberg, 2011's The Green Hornet was just plain bad. We made a whole video breaking down the movie's many failures, which you can check out in the description, but Rogen and Goldberg certainly share in the blame. Neither of them had any particular interest in The Green Hornet as a property, and Rogen had no connection to the character before he donned his green mask. Essentially, everything that made Rogen and Goldberg's work great was utterly absent from this movie, and it reflected in both the box office and review scores. This poor showing could have once again been a death knell for Rogen's career on and off the screen, and yet he survived. Just like the dry spell he experienced after Freaks and Geeks and the mostly forgotten failure of Drillbit Taylor, Rogen forced himself into the next phase of his career through his drive, ambition, and talent.
Seth, that's a better performance than you've given in your last 6 movies. Where the was that in Green Hornet, huh?
He successfully relaunched himself just 2 years later with the 2013 apocalyptic comedy This Is the End, which he co-wrote, produced, and starred in. Basically, that movie happened through sheer force of will, whether we liked it or not. That kind of confidence could have soured quickly, but Rogen had obviously learned from his past mistakes. This Is the End reverted back to that place of authenticity that made his earlier projects so special, and he was rewarded for it. The movie was well received, and it gave him some breathing room to make his next move. Over the subsequent decade, Rogen continued to be a script writing and producing powerhouse. He was more selective about the movies he showed up in, and while not every project was a show-stopping hit, he built up an impressive filmography. He tested the waters of animation by co-writing and producing 2016's Sausage Party, and he even started producing films he had no part in writing, like 2014's Neighbors, 2017's Disaster Artist, and 2018's Blockers. You might notice a theme with all these ventures in that they all fit within Rogen's raunchy comedy wheelhouse. But after so many years of the same, it turns out he still has a lot to give audiences. He was part of the team that wrote and produced Preacher, he wrote the screenplay for the delightful kid-friendly TMNT Mutant Mayhem, produced The Boys, and co-created the spin-off Gen V with Goldberg and Eric Kripke. His fingerprints are all over the modern media landscape, and most viewers probably don't even know it. But when you take a closer look, it becomes clear.
Hold your horses, Sir Lot 779.
Yes, Countess.
Rogen's interests have matured and his talents have sharpened, but at the core of everything he creates, that same authentic energy shines through. When he started as a 13-year-old kid doing stand-up comedy in Vancouver, his goal was to make people laugh with relatable anecdotes and life experiences, and that's largely still his goal. The breadth of emotions he wants his audience to feel has expanded, but he's still that same kid writing his own material and presenting it to the world in whatever way he can, and that's why he's still around. At every turn, just when it looks like Rogen is about to fall to the wayside, he climbs back up the ladder with impressive brute strength. His pedigree today is far more impressive than it was in the 2000s and 2010s, even though many of us look at him as the dude who got beat up by Danny McBride in Pineapple Express. He made space for himself in the Hollywood machine by levying his successes, shoving his failures aside, and forging ahead by any means necessary.
Give me like the laugh, man. Give me the Seth Rogen laugh. Seth Rogen, everybody.
But that's just what we think. Now we want to hear your thoughts. What's your favorite Seth Rogen project? And are you excited to see what he does next? Let us know in the comments below, and while you're there, leave us a like and subscribe to the Nerdstalgic channel for more videos just like this one.